But what I put the Leader of the Opposition was that the only things we're settling today with this vote is the deal we've got on citizens' rights, the money we owe, and the Irish backstop. And that's the only thing resolved if we pass this withdrawal agreement today. And I'm still can't understand what the objection of the Labour Party is to any of those three.
So this is going on live, yeah, and the show actually starts in 30 minutes' time. But I figured I'd, play this up to
with
the
that
show.
point because it's an important point. I have actually dealt with it a number of times from this dispatch box. I've made it clear.
He basically wants to stay. It's as simple as that. That's his policy. It's slightly different from the bloke sat next to him with the glasses on.
And it's there in the heart of the letter from President.
But the fact is, the Blairites have got a way too big a stranglehold in Labour. Anyway, I'll leave this and I'll stop ranting.
And if anybody's read the legislation,
if you're watching an archived version, you might want to fast forward about 12 minutes or so. Oh, Piers coming on tonight. Piers
unless
Garnham.
Both the withdrawal agreement and the political declaration together are voted on tonight. So it's a cheap point for people to simply say, well, since you accept there's a backstop, you should vote for this tonight, and I won't accept it. But Mr. Speaker, But Mr. Speaker, it's not just the technical fact that the withdrawal agreement political declaration have to be voted through together. It's also the fact that what's happened today, and looking at the promises, is as much about trust as it is about substance. Now, I've never doubted the difficulty of the Prime Minister's task, or the way that she has gone around about the task that she's had. And she's been right to refuse to listen to those who are casual and complacent about the need to avoid a hard border in Northern Ireland. But the reality is that the deal the Prime Minister has put before this House is deeply flawed. The future relationship document is flimsy and vague. It's an option paper. It's the blindest of Brexit. Now, I heard what the Prime Minister said today, and she said it before, about not being able to negotiate a trade agreement with the EU until we have left, and that is, of course, right. But she knows, and I know, what she promised: a comprehensive and detailed political declaration ready to be implemented. That's why it was called an implementation period and not a transition period. And that was a commitment made at the dispatch box by Brexit secretaries on a number of occasions, a detailed political declaration. This deal is not that. It's an abject failure. It does not protect jobs, living standards or rights. It will not deliver frictionless trade. The deal has already been rejected once by this House. It's been rejected by the Scottish Parliament and the Welsh Assembly. It's opposed by the TUC and the entire trade union movement and every opposition party in the House, and I suspect a good many members opposite will oppose it tonight. This is a sorry outcome after 2 years of negotiations.
It's exactly what she wanted.
Just looked at the clock. Mr. Speaker, I want to end with this. I've been in this role as Shadow Brexit Secretary.
It's exactly what he wants too. It's exactly what she wants.
Many predictions were possible back then, but I could not possibly have foreseen the scale of the calamity now upon us. The truth is, the Prime Minister spent 24 months negotiating the deal, but the deal arrived at is a desperate attempt to keep her divided party together, and it's failed in that endeavour. And I believe it will be rejected by this House. Now, this is a difficult moment for this House and for the country, and we in this House should take no joy in the events that have unfolded. But after tonight, the House will need to come together and find a way out of the mess that the Prime Minister and this government have created. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Secretary of State for Brexit, Secretary Stephen Barclay.
Row, Barney McGrew, Cuthbert
Leonard
Dibble
Johnson began his remarks by paying tribute to the officials
another useless jobs
who have put in so much work into the negotiations on which we vote tonight, and I join him on behalf of the government in paying tribute to that work.
Oh, blimey.
Mr. Speaker, 8 weeks ago, Parliament made
Olly
clear that
you got to be
despite the benefits
joking.
delivered by the deal must change. And the government has listened to the concerns of the House, and it has done so.
What about the
it
people?
returns to present a revised package, which my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, my right honourable friend and learned friend, the Attorney General, and I are putting to the House, which signals a moment in time when we can move forward and when the country can move forward. It delivers the certainty our businesses need, the guarantees our citizens seek, the protections requested across the House on workers' rights and environmental standards. And on Gibraltar, as the Chief Minister himself has said on many occasions, the Prime Minister has been absolutely clear that we stand behind British sovereignty for Gibraltar, and that will never change. Above all, a vote for the deal tonight will deliver a wider global message that when this country votes, respecting strongly held differences of opinion, its Parliament acts on that public vote. Mr. Speaker, in recent weeks, the Prime Minister and senior members of the government have engaged widely, from trade unionists like Len McCluskey, to businesses, to EU leaders, and to many colleagues across the House. Even, on one occasion, when he finally got round to it, with the leader of the opposition.
Yeah, you got 17.4 million views as well in your inbox, as I recall.
Which will extinguish the risk of no deal and remove the democratic threat posed by no Brexit. The fear of being trapped in the backstop, of the EU using its leverage in negotiations, has been repeatedly raised, Mr. Speaker, in previous debates. I do not believe the EU ever intended to approach our future relationship in bad faith. And indeed, it's a slight irony that those who say they are European suggest that the backstop and the EU acting in bad faith is a concern of theirs. It's certainly not my experience of dealing with them. We share values, and we want
you're a
to
moron,
trade
that's
together.
why.
But we have acted to
You're a
address
complete
that risk.
moron.
Of course, I do.
Can't believe you're on the front bench in a British government. You're a twat. Absolute, complete useless.
About us being stuck in the backstop.
Here we go.
I understand the Attorney General, further to my question earlier, has been able to extend his advice on how Article 62 of the Vienna Convention could be used, and I wonder if my right honourable friend would be able to confirm that.
Well, I'm very happy to address the point that my honourable friend, the member for North East Somerset, raised. I was going to come on, just before I do, to the wider point that the Attorney General made clear in his comments this evening, that the documents laid before the House reduce the risk on which he previously gave advice to the House on the 13th of November. But I think the issue to which my honourable friend alights is the exceptional circumstances which might change the basis on which the UK might enter into an agreement. For the clarity of the House, if the United Kingdom took the reasonable view on clear evidence that the objectives of the protocol were no longer being proportionately served by its provisions because, for example, it was not any longer protecting the 1998 agreement in all its dimensions, the UK would first obviously attempt to resolve the issue in the Joint Committee and within the negotiations. However, as the Attorney General said in the House today, it could respectfully be argued, if the facts clearly warranted it, that there had been an unforeseen and fundamental change of circumstances affecting the essential basis of the treaty on which the United Kingdom's consent had been given. As my honourable friend will know, Article 62 of the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties, which is reflective of the customary international law, permits the termination of a treaty in such circumstances. It would, in the government's view, be clear in those exceptional circumstances that international law provides the United Kingdom with the right to terminate with the agreement, the withdrawal agreement. In the unlikely event that were to happen, the United Kingdom would no doubt offer to continue.
Did you see that bird walk in then, with all the in the EU colours, you know, dress in EU colours?
I hope that addresses the concern that was raised. Of course I do.
Good way forever.
Is the Attorney General going to issue an addendum to the statement and the opinion he's already given? Or is this just the Honourable Gentleman's view on the matter?
Whoa.
Well, firstly, I've, at the dispatch box, set out the position on behalf of the government and given that clarity ahead of the vote. I think what was clear in response to the Attorney's statement earlier today, that he has been assiduous in his duties to this House. He has provided his legal advice both on the 13th of November and today, and I am sure that the Attorney will continue to be a servant of the House, Mr. Speaker, and answer in that way. I simply have 3 minutes remaining, Mr. Speaker. It is. I will.
Order! The House must calm itself. It's up to the Right Honourable Gentleman to decide whether, and if so to whom, he wishes to give way. The matter for the Right Honourable Gentleman. Secretary of State.
Well, of course, I will reflect the will of the House and give way. But what is interesting is the view from the benches opposite is not a desire to get into the substance, but just to play politics with what is one of the most crucial decisions in our country's history. I will give way to the Honourable Gentleman.
I'm most grateful to my Right Honourable Friend. I just want to understand the implications of Article 62, because it seems to me that what he's actually saying is that that would be a ground for voiding the entire treaty. But that's a rather different thing from being able to pull out of the backstop. Doubtless, there might be some members of this House who'd be only too delighted to see the entire treaty voided, but it is a rather apocalyptic scenario, or have I misunderstood something?
Well, rather like economists, lawyers can always find issues on which to disagree. But the issue here is, as I said in my remarks, we are dealing here with unlikely circumstances, and what came through the Attorney's statement was the fact that ultimately this is a political judgment, not a legal judgment. It is for members of this House to assess the political risk. Indeed, as the Attorney himself said, I've had one intervention.
Order. One sentence of no more than 10 words. Spit it out.
Is the Attorney General going to add to the opinion he's already given?
Yeah.
What the Honourable Gentleman saying is really strict.
Hold on.
The Secretary of State has already explained
Can you hear
that
me?
speaking for the government. Colleagues must make their own assessment. There is no time to delay.
I'm getting a bit of feedback.
So, well, given I have put 1 minute left,
hopefully that'll
what
stop.
came through, Mr. Speaker, in the statement this morning
Just got the Commons
is,
line
if I
going
can quote
on.
the Attorney, legal advice
Hold
can
on.
only inform a political decision. And tonight the House faces a political decision. We have a strong message from our business community that wants certainty. We have a message from our citizens who want to know their rights are protected. We are a country that stands by its legal
You've been given a message,
which
mate.
is why we will settle the financial settlement.
Get a
I think,
bigger
yeah,
one.
I've got it sorted.
Speaker,
All right,
that we
Piers, good
face
man,
a
good man.
fork in the
Well,
road.
you know what?
It
Oh,
is
blind,
time
better start,
to
I
choose.
suppose.
It is time to support this deal. It's time for our country to move forward. I commend the motion to the...
Oh, bugger off. What a... I tell you what, that... Hey, folks. Good evening, good people. Welcome to the Daily Brexit. Daily Summit. Holding democracy to account, fighting for self-determination and exposing plutocracy right in the Commons right now! I'm Olly Connelly. Thanks for turning up. Live now, well, right now, and now. COX and Bull! COX and Bull! As planet Earth continues to sink into a sea of bullshit, frankly, where girls have cocks, democracy is dire, and fascism is fab! Esoteric-nic Piers Garnham is here right now, reminding me to have a laugh. I think there's a vote going on too. Yeah, you can join in too. Taking your calls on Discord, gov.ly/rant. And there's a number there. Yeah, you can dial that. If you want. Over a chat with old Piers and me. Yeah, Piers is on Facebook tonight, so if you're calling on that number, then that's great. People can talk simultaneously, I think, and on Discord. That's the idea. I've got this new software. It seems to be working. Trying to make it all a bit easier. Right. Okay, good. All very good. Very good, very good. Yeah, no, not too much chaos yet. Let's, never mind all that. Right, let's get on with, just see what's going on with this lot in the Commons. This is the coverage coming out of the Parliament. It's live. This is on the Sun, but it's wherever. They just embed it from the Parliament's feed. And... but actually, their feed is, if it's going to work. Oh, you can't work. Yeah, okay. They've gone off. They have now gone and voted. They are now voting right now. That's what's going on. Piers, hello, mate.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Oh, hold on. Oh, hold on. Let me just sort this out. Let me sort this out.
Of the country, no. Yes, okay. Well, the shout fest has been successfully concluded. Tell us more the ayes, Mr. Andrew Stevenson and Mr. Ian Stewart. Tell us more the noes. Thangham Debonair.
Hold on, they haven't voted already. Maybe they haven't already got no, because they'd be back in. Anyway, maybe they're coming back in. Anyway.
Oh yeah, MPs are voting on the government's motion in the EU withdrawal agreement and the declaration on the future relationship following the changes made over the weekend's negotiations with the European Union. The result is expected at 7:15.
Yeah. Oh, Piers, man, I tell you what, it's such a panto, isn't it? So it looks as though she's not going to get this through. We'll know in a minute, so maybe there's no point speculating, but...
well, you know, the Attorney General basically said that there's no real, change. So at the end of the day, if they voted it down by the largest margin in political history or whatever, the last time, should that be any different this time around? I mean, right.
It was 230 votes margin last time.
Yeah, I can't imagine that may shrink a bit, but I can't believe for 1 minute that this terrible deal will get through. What will be interesting is whether or not Theresa May's insane enough to try and cling on to power. And my feeling is that she will, because personally, I think she's the victim of some kind of trauma-based mind control.
Maybe she is.
Which has made her sort of resilient to almost anything. You know, they've turned her into some... There's a kid in Parliament with a pink jacket on.
Really?
Whose kid is that?
Maybe it's...
I've got the BBC Parliamentary channel on, and they've got a little girl in there with a pink jacket on.
Maybe
she's voting too. You know?
Maybe it's a very short. Maybe it's a very short MP.
It's the MP representing Oompa Loompas.
Yeah. Bless
her.
She's probably the only one. She's probably the only one in there with any sense.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I wouldn't. You know,
she's probably the only one in there who hasn't been bought. Oh, I don't know.
Yes. Well, it's going to be very interesting, and I cannot call it. I mean, what's going to happen? I think they're going to vote it down now, and then they're going to vote whether or not to take no deal off the table tomorrow, which I'm assuming they will do because they're all such staunch bloody Remainers, and then we'll have to delay Article 50. But the actually delaying Article 50s, you know, the ins and outs of which I don't really fully understand, and you know, are they going to penalise us massively for doing so? I think they probably will.
They reckon they want $1 billion a month to extend it, don't they? Which I suppose is more or less the rate of return that we get at the moment or whatever. But the fact is we want to get rid of it, don't we? Just take a few comments. Amanda Momtazi says, just joined. Love your intro. Hilarious. Thanks, Amanda. Thank you. Lisa Fuge, I've said all along she's had some kind of lobotomy. You know, Piers, you have got quite a good theory there that she's basically been MK Ultra'd somehow. A bit like one of, I don't know, Michael Jackson's kiddies or something. It does make you wonder, why do these people, unless she is truly, truly psychotic, which also, I guess, is an option, look at Tony Blair. Then, unless that's the case, then she must have been somehow got to.
I think Blair's been got to as well. I think Macron's been got to. I think Merkel's been got to. I think they've all been MK Ultra'd. I think they've all been, party to some kind of trauma-based mind control. I mean, they do it. They do it in the Secret Service. Some of the agents they produce in MI5 and MI6. They deliberately put them through extreme trauma to sort of to take them right to the edge in order to be able to sort of kind of negate the emotional effects. I mean, they literally torture them and put them through unbelievable angst and near-death experience. So it sort of numbs them from the general everyday life. It's a very severe form of trauma-based mind control.
One thing I would say about all of these characters and Hillary Clinton as well is that they don't have any empathy. Obama was another one. He smiled, but it just didn't ring true. It didn't seem genuine. The empathy is anyway. I don't know. We should get into psychos quite yet. I guess it's a very underlining subject.
No, it is. But they've all been deliberately created, if you like, for their ultimate destiny, which is being put in a position of power. But they are heavily compromised, as we've discussed in previous weeks. I don't believe you can attain a high office unless you are compromised in some kind of way, and this is why paedophilia seems to be so rife within the upper echelons of political power. Or whether it be the judiciary, or whether it be the police force, or whether it be, people like Savile, who was close to them all.
That's right.
Or
they
Ted
just had
Heath,
they just said in the news the IICSA, the Independent Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse, reported yesterday they had a witness come in talking about Morrison, Lord Morrison, wasn't it? Peter Morrison under Thatcher.
Peter.
Another pedo is basically been talking about. Look, I think they're about to announce this vote now. We may well come on to discuss a little bit more about how these people are controlled. Piers,
sorry,
it is
my
very
phone's ringing. To apologise.
No, that's all right, man. It is incredible. So we have a prime minister that we all hate, pretty much. Actually, she has got a lot of respect, but people that are watching the BBC, it seems to me that the only people that give her any time of day are the kind of people that are frankly conditioned to thinking that our Prime Minister is doing the best she can. The logic is there, people. All she needed to do was to say, talk, trade, or bugger off. That's it. That is all she needed to do. That was her job as Prime Minister, to say to Barnier, to Juncker, and all the rest of it, either talk trade, none of this we're just going to, we want 39 billion off you, and then we'll talk trade, maybe. None of that, no. You talk trade now, parallel talks, we'll sort out the withdrawal at the same time, or bugger off. And guess what? They have the trade surplus to the UK. It was in their interest, more than that of the UK, to talk trade. But of course she didn't do that. And that's why, personally, it seems to me, being such an abject moron is not really an option for this person. She's not stupid. She is somehow a traitor. She is a foreign agent. She's working for the Soros. I don't know how, but she is not working for the 17.4 and the whole of Britain. And it's so clear by the fact that she did not say, talk trade, let's have a logical negotiation. No, Piers? I mean, it's logical, no?
She's mind controlled, mate. She's a robot. She's a fembot. She's not human. She's had the human taken out of her, and she's been put in power with a purpose, and that purpose is destroy Brexit. The only reason the deep state put Theresa May in office in the first place, and nobody elected her. We did. Unfortunately, we did. Elect her in the last general election because of the terrible options available to us. But she still needed the DUP and had to bribe them to the tune of God knows how many billions in order to be able to get them on side.
Yeah, she gave them $4 billion.
Let's watch now. They're going to vote it down. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. Well, they're about to announce it, mate. So as soon as they do, I'll bung the volume up on that. I have a few comments.
Bloody Burko. I absolutely detest that little
mate. I mean, he's another one, isn't he? The guy's a bully and all the rest of it. He should not be in that seat. He's entirely partisan. He was rude to the leader of really our most important trading partner for Brexit, for leaving the United States, and he was rude to the leader, said he wasn't welcome and all the rest. How dare he suppose to take on to misuse his position in that way? But he did do. I'll tell you, I'm sorry.
He's got Napoleon complex, hasn't he? I mean, he's a little man. He probably has a very little appendage, and he sits on his throne in the House of Commons and just sort of gets off on the power trip that he's being given.
I think he does.
Absolutely odious little man. Disgusting, appalling, revolting. Can't stand him.
Adjectives in the comments. I'll read them out. Right. Could not do her last job either, says Warren Whiteley, referring to Sharia May, presumably. Christopher Michael Baxter, maybe, Ollie, she may not be multitasking and was unable to negotiate 2 issues at once. She's a woman, Chris. Come on, mate. Sarah Boland, I actually feel. I actually feel physically sick with nerves, says Sarah Boland. I wonder. There has been, I think, a lot of emotional trauma in the country, one way and another. Piers, it's almost a crime against humanity. What this duplicitous parliamentarian set has put the British pub through since we voted to leave.
Yep, it's become blatantly clear now. They haven't been able to keep the illusion going. This is the thing. We've been in a trance for years, and they've been successfully keeping this illusion going. But now, with so much going on, the curtain has been pulled up without their permission, and we're now staring behind the curtain for the first time in decades, and it's not pretty, and they can't.
We've got Soros popping out from behind the curtain half the time now. It's like, hello! Oh, look, the EU's doomed if you don't sort that out, or I'll pop that behind the curtain now. He's in the papers all the time, and others, and what have you, and they keep on wheeling out Blair. Unbelievable.
Blair's beginning to look more and more like the devil every day, isn't it? It's almost like he's sort of morphing into some sort of demon. I mean, like the man looks more and more demonic every day. I mean, talk about shape-shifting. I mean, okay, it doesn't happen very quickly, but it's happening to him. I mean, it's sort of like
you're right.
He does look. He does look turning demonic. Into the devil. I mean, why he has the right to travel around Europe as a non-elected, politician in this country, talking to the likes of Macron and all the rest. Oh God, I mean Macron. I mean, he's exactly the same as Theresa May. He's completely mind-controlled little robot.
Yeah.
I mean, look at his country. I went skiing last week, and there were gilets jaunes in the Alps at roundabouts, waving flags.
You sure they weren't the police?
Slowing the traffic down.
Right. You sure they weren't?
So
they weren't
we were
the
delayed
cops.
getting up to the Alpine resort I was staying in because of the gilets jaunes. So I was putting my thumbs up and waving at them and smiling and being thoroughly encouraging, and for the first time in my life not being annoyed for being delayed for some reason.
By the French. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, by the French. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, they're having
indeed.
It would be interesting to be a fly right next to Theresa May's ear right now, I suppose. I would have thought she's just walked in. From I don't know,
hopefully
went off to a dump or
she'll
something.
Trip up and hit her head on one of those stern wooden beams in the balustrades or whatever. In the anyway.
She does look headed for a Zimmer, that woman. She's got a funny gait, hasn't she? She reminds me of my great aunt when my great aunt was about 100 years old and about 7'6" with glasses, the width of I don't know the mace in that Commons or something, and just. Very angular woman.
She's like a Dementor out of Harry Potter. She just sort of sucks the life force out of anything she comes into touch with. Can you imagine? I mean, I've met people like that. People whose names I won't mention on the radio, but they were nice enough there was no reason to directly dislike them, but they sort of sucked energy from you. And just an afternoon in their company was enough to sort of make you feel completely drained. I think you probably know who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but I think Theresa May's probably very much the same kind of beast. You know, she's just sort of sucks the life force out of people.
Talking of sucking the life force, David Laddie reckons she'd been for a squirt. Stavros, there was never a vote to leave, all engineered to protect the City of London. 1 foot in and 1 foot out. It's at this stage of the proceedings, what we need is for basically, I don't know, never mind, the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition to get up and have a fight! Do something, remotely useful. Maybe punch one of you out or something.
But do you think? I mean, if this vote gets voted down, do you think she'll leave? Do you think she'll resign? I don't think she will.
No.
I think she's going to carry on.
No,
I think
she won't.
That is the level of insanity that we've reached now.
Yeah,
we've got a prime minister that's had a vote of no confidence against her.
Yeah.
And the only reason she won that was because we've got Jeremy Corbyn as the opposition leader. And we've had this same deal, almost exactly the same deal, voted down unanimously. It'll probably get voted down unanimously again now. Where does that leave us? Does that mean that she's going to cling on and delay Article 50? I think so. I genuinely think so. You see, I think she is an agent working for the Germans and the EU. She's under Merkel control, Merkel mind control. Merkel, whenever she meets her, sort of look into my eyes, not around the eyes, look into my eyes, and you're under. And May is just transfixed like some sort of rabbit in the headlights, and Merkel is like, this is what you will do, and you will make sure this is what happens, and this is the end of the story, So she is going, literally, May's the only reason she's in office is to thwart Brexit. So if you use that as the sort of premise of her motivation, then what will happen is you can follow logic through. This will be voted down unanimously.
Look at this,
maybe by a slightly smaller margin than last time, and then we will vote on the no deal aspect of Brexit. Then the parliamentarians will vote to vote the no deal, the option to keep no deal on the table down, and then we will have to delay Article 50, which will mean shoving tons of cash down the EU's throat, which is exactly what they want anyway. So
that's all they want. And the military.
I personally think that there's something suspicious going on. They're waiting. They're going to try and drag it out to the end of 21, 22, and I think there's probably a whole load of legislation we haven't been told about. That sort of once that kicks in, there'll be no escape. So as long as they can delay this, keep this farce alive for the next sort of couple of years, then there'll be no getting out anyway.
That's right. They can reverse it.
They seem to be on a very tight schedule.
If the worst comes to the worst, they'll just wait for the next Labour government, reduce the age of voting consent to the age of voting to 16, and then it's a given, isn't it? And so, but look,
I don't think there's any desire to elect Jeremy Corbyn in this country, but there's also no desire to see Theresa May retain power either. So
hold on, Piers.
Here we go. What's going on?
Here we go. Burko's about a.
That nasty.
Oh, come on! They all went quiet, and now they're piping up again. Right. So anyway, if you're tuning in,
the delay in the lobbies.
Yeah. What's the delay? Someone's constipation in democracy. Right. Okay. So they're about to announce. Yeah. So folks. I guess that the yays. Are for the government, aren't they, Piers? We've got Fergie on Discord.
Yeah. One would assume so.
Okay. All right. Hey, Dave Fergie, can you hear me on Discord? I guess that the yays. Dave Fergie, if you can hear me on Discord, do us a favour. Hey, Dave. Yeah, you're very good timing, mate. We're about to hear the announcement. We're about to hear the announcement, so we'll have a chat after when Burko's done his thing. If you've joined us, God bless you. This is history going on right now. Let's just hope the damn thing's turned down. Blimey. What do you reckon? I reckon 100 votes. I reckon 100 this time. Piers?
I think it'll be closer to what it was last time.
Well, that was 230.
Nobody in their right mind would vote for this utter crap.
Well, they shouldn't.
I mean, this deal is literally worse than the paper I wipe my ass with. I mean, it's just
okay, quiet. You're absolutely right, though. More accurate than what we're about to hear. Right, here we go.
Order.
This deal is literally...
The ayes to the right, 242. The noes to the left, 391.
Well, there you go. So it was about 110, wasn't it? 110 in it?
You're right.
No. It was more than that.
Significantly. Right, she better resign.
The noes to the left, 391. So the noes have it. The noes
so it was 150.
So it came down a bit.
Okay, so thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that. Yeah, thank goodness for that. So basically it hasn't gone through, and so now they're going to... Hold on, here we go. This is the old whatnot.
Regret the decision that this House has taken tonight.
Go! Leave!
I continue to believe that by far the best outcome is that the United Kingdom leaves the European Union in an orderly fashion with a deal. And that the deal we've negotiated is the best and indeed the only deal available. But, Mr. Speaker, I would like to set out briefly how the government means to proceed.
Resign!
2 weeks ago, I made a series of commitments from this dispatch box regarding the steps we would take in the event that this House rejected the deal on offer.
Here we go.
I stand by those commitments in full. Therefore, tonight, we will table a motion for debate tomorrow to test whether the House supports leaving the European Union without a deal on the 29th of March. The Leader of the House will shortly make an emergency business statement confirming the change to tomorrow's business. This is
sounds
an
like
issue
she's
of
been
grave
gagging on something salami show.
Just like the referendum, there are strongly held and equally legitimate views on both sides. For that reason, I can confirm that this will be a free vote on this side of the House. I have personally struggled with this choice, as I'm sure many other honourable members will. I'm passionate about delivering the result of the referendum, but I equally passionately believe that the best way to do that is to leave in an orderly way with a deal. And I still believe that there is a majority in the House for that course of action. And I'm conscious also...
She's doing everything in her power to stop Brexit.
...of my duties as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and of the potential damage to the Union that leaving without a deal could do when one part of our country is without devolved governance. I can therefore confirm that the motion will read that this House declines to approve leaving the European Union without a withdrawal agreement and a framework on the future relationship on the 29th of March 2019.
Hold on.
That leaving without a deal remains the default in UK and EU law unless this House and the EU ratify an agreement. I will return to the House to open the debate tomorrow and to take interventions from honourable members and to ensure the House is fully informed in making...
There you have it! That's what she was programmed to do when she took the job. Do exactly that. Exactly that there.
These will cover our approach to tariffs and to the Northern Ireland border, among other matters.
You can almost hear she's got like it's Merkel speaking through her, like she's like a drone. You can Merkel's back in Germany, like steering her with like remote control and speaking through her mouthpiece, you know, like, and everything coming out is translated into English, you know. And I genuinely think that she's more like...
If the House votes for an extension, the government will seek to agree that extension with the EU and bring forward the necessary legislation to change the exit date commensurate with that extension. But let me be clear. Voting against leaving without a deal and for an extension does not solve the problems we face.
They are the problems we face. They are the problems we face.
Know what use we mean to make of such an extension. And this House will have to answer
their
that
jobs
question.
if they vote.
Does it wish to revoke Article 50? Does it want to hold a second referendum?
Here you go. Anything and everything to stop this from happening. She's an absolute robot, that woman.
These are
going nowhere.
unenviable choices. But thanks to the decision that the House has made this evening, they are choices that must now be faced.
Point of order, Mr. Jeremy Corbyn.
Let's hear what he's got to say.
The government has been defeated again by an enormous majority, and they must now accept their deal, their proposal, the one the Prime Minister has put, is clearly dead and does not have the support of this House. And quite clearly, no deal must be taken off the table. We've said that before, and we'll say that again.
Unbelievable.
But it does mean the House has got to come together with a proposal that could be negotiated. The Labour Party has put that proposal, and we will put that proposal again, because the dangers of what the Prime Minister is proposing are basically that she carries on threatening us all with the danger of no deal, the danger of that, knowing full well the damage that will do to the British economy. This party will put forward our proposals again, which are about a negotiated customs union, access to the market,
we said we didn't
and protection
want
of rights. Those are the ones we'll put forward. We believe there may well be a majority for them, but there will also be the potential of negotiating them. The Prime Minister has run down the clock, and the clock has been run out on her. Maybe it's time instead we had a general election and the people could choose who
I do think
should be.
I do think, Piers, that we are at the stage now where we need a general election. People need the opportunity to vote for parties that would actually deliver Brexit. And clearly, these non-representative shills are not going to do that.
Quite, absolutely. I mean, we have the Brexit Party, we have UKIP. People are going to have to vote against their standard, the way they've usually behave. They're going to have to vote for something that perhaps they don't fully believe in. But if they believe in the process of democracy and they believe in our right to leave and govern our own country and control our own borders and all the rest of it. You see, I've got lots of friends who are staunch Remainers, and the way I explain to them is that I don't actually want much to change. I want to have the kind of levels of commerce that we have with our European relations now.
That's right.
But the only difference is, I want free movement. I want my people's children.
You probably don't want to
have move freely around Europe. I don't really actually want very much to change. The only thing I want to change is that I don't want the EU telling us what to do. I want to run our own show.
Sovereignty.
Govern our own country. I mean, to be fair. Once all the legislation, European Union legislation kicks in, if we're still in a couple of years' time, there'll be no need for the House of Commons or the House of Lords to exist any longer, because we will have no control over what happens in our own country anyway. I mean, this is all literally, we are seeing if we stay in the European Union, we're seeing the end of parliamentary control over our own country. The Houses of Parliament might as well be turned into a bowling alley. I mean, the Lords is a joke anyway. They're all asleep most of the time. Seriously, if we don't take control of our country now, we might as well it's incredible that they're spending hundreds of millions of pounds doing up the Houses of Parliament round now, because it's literally they're spending all this money on a monument that won't represent any kind of political power or control over this nation at all. We need to act now. It's fundamentally important. And it does mean, you may have been a Labour supporter all your life, you may have been a Conservative supporter all your life, you may have been a Liberal Democrat all your life. I'm afraid you're going to have to literally, swallow the distasteful pill and either vote for the Brexit Party or UKIP, because it's the only way we're going to see democracy delivered if a general election is called. But I can tell you they're not going to call a general election. They're not, because they know it would cause a hung parliament. We'd end up in a hung parliamentary scenario. Gawain Taylor told the press secretary.
They got Vince on. Sorry, go on.
Told us.
Go on.
He told us that
who did
that the current UKIP leader and Farage will not work with each other.
Yep.
Batten and Farage will not work with each other.
No.
They dislike each other intensely, and therefore there'll be no kind of coalition. So we would end up in a hung parliamentary scenario. There'd be no majority. We'd be just as destitute as we are now, really. But you see, there's all this talk of no deal Brexit being the worst case scenario. It's just not true.
Yeah, that's right.
That is the biggest lie.
It is. It's completely the opposite from the truth.
Operatives. They're all bought and paid for by the corporate lobby.
Yeah.
That European corporate lobby, this racket, this club. This members club, it's like a really posh golf club, the European Union, and you have to struggle to gain membership, and you have to kiss ass and be obsequious and sycophantic to all the members, and eventually they deign to let you join at great expense, and then then you're in the club, and then the club. You start to adopt the club membership kind of behavior, which is looking down your nose at everybody else and controlling who does business with who, how much business gets done, making sure that all your friends and colleagues are thoroughly looked after and remunerated, and bugger the rest. So these, and what's happened is, yes, the corporate lobby has taken over in America, it's taken over in the UK, it's taken over in most of Central Europe, and all these representatives that are supposed to represent the majority vote of their constituents are all bribed corporate lobbyists. And what we will see now is, they'll vote for no deal to be taken off the table. It's almost like a script that you can read. It's like a formulaic Hollywood screenplay, isn't it? It's like you can just see what's going to happen. It's we've all watched a lot of films. We know there's a recipe. These guys are following a formula. I mean, it's just like that. We know that Theresa May is just purely exists to thwart Brexit. That is the only reason she exists, and the fact that she hasn't resigned, she won't resign. I guarantee it. She's going to stay on because they need a Remainer in power. The deep state need a Remainer in power.
She can stay on legally, and therefore she will stay on. It's very hard to get rid of her still. They can have a motion of confidence. That's the only thing they can do. Of no confidence.
Well, they've done that, and then now
they can do another one.
For a year.
No. I mean, Parliament can. Parliament can still. I think. I'm pretty sure. No, can.
I thought that Jeremy Corbyn launched this vote of no confidence, and it was voted down, and I think she's immune from it for 12 months. So
I thought that she was immune from the party
no way of getting rid of this harridan. She's
I thought that she was immune from the party one, Piers. I thought that she was immune from the Conservative vote of no confidence. That was, but anyway, it's just very hard to get rid of her at best. Is the
She's like some sort of diseased limpet, isn't she? Like a syphilitic limpet, clinging to the rock, oh, I'm not leaving my rock, I'm so diseased, but I'm not going to let go, no! Yeah. I mean, but it's the programming kicking in, it's her mind control, she has been mind controlled. The behavior that she's demonstrating, and I'm sure any psychologist or behavioral expert looking at the way she's behaved over the last few weeks would tell you that the way she's behaving is not normal behavior for a normal human being.
No.
It is like she's some kind of deranged robot.
I don't think the behavior of hardly any of those people in the Commons.
I mean, how many
nor of the media
catastrophic defeats does somebody have to suffer before they finally say, well, maybe I should hand over the reins of power to somebody else?
Oh, sorry. Hold on. Oh, shut up. Sorry, Piers. Carry on. Yeah, no, absolutely. How many defeats? There was contempt as well. This government was charged with contempt.
She's not behaving normally. She's not behaving normally. Macron's not behaving normally.
No.
Merkel's not behaving normally.
No.
They
look desperate the way they're calling for.
Well, no, they don't look desperate. They behave in a way where it's almost like they don't hear any of the criticisms. It's like it doesn't sink in.
Yeah.
It's almost like they've got some sort of got mental barrier that's been built into their psychological brainwashing that sort of prevents them from feeling like a normal. I mean, you talk about Kelly Holmes. Kelly Holmes during the Olympic Games in England in the United Kingdom in 2012 was talking about how she won those medals because the crowd got around. There was a stadium full of people all literally willing her to win. And she did, because literally the stadium came alive. It was almost a deafening wall of sounds willing her to win, and that gave her, that literally turbocharged her to victory. And at the moment, we're faced with a prime minister who's experiencing the kind of the polar opposite of that experience, where everybody's willing her to go, to leave office, to step down, to just stand aside, and actually let's have a prime minister that actually believes in the Brexit process. But she will not stand down. So that this resilience against the face of almost insurmountable adversity is not normal. It's insanity. It's either insanity or it's some form of control.
I want to go to Dave Fergie, who we've got on Discord, and ask his opinion on what you say. And just a segue into you, Dave, a story on Westminster today. Actually, it was around and about. Senior Conservative MP calls for general election if deal is rejected. Along the lines of what Piers was saying. A senior Conservative MP has called for a general election if Theresa May's EU deal is rejected for a second time, as seems likely to happen, as just happened, yeah? Charles Walker, the MP for Broxbourne, who has a senior role on the Tory backbench 1922 committee, has said if it doesn't go through, as sure as night follows day, there will be a general election within a matter of days or weeks. It is not sustainable. Dave, is this sustainable, this political climate that we are being dragged through?
No, it isn't, is it? I think the important thing to say is, hang on, I'm echoing here. What am I echoing?
Oh no, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm hearing myself. I'll just have to blank off.
Okay, you're not echoing to us, so please put up with it, because for crying, oh dear, yeah, tech's a problem enough as it is. Go on.
I think it's going to plan. I think there are only two ways forward. One is a general election, and two is to leave. Sorry, is to remain.
What? There are two options. One's Hold on a sec. You're saying there are two options. One of them is to have a general election, and the other one is to remain.
Yeah.
What happened to WTOs?
Well, we're not going to get it.
Oh, okay. You're talking what you think's going to happen.
So I think that the insane option of remaining for us Brexiteers is the best option, because we'll get a chance very shortly to do something about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. What do you think to that, Piers?
Yeah, he's right. They're not going to let us leave. This whole sham, this whole farce is all about not making sure that we don't leave. I mean, that is the agenda. We've discussed it ad nauseum. May's agenda is to make sure that we do not leave. She said herself, if her deal was voted down, the chances are we will never leave. And she absolutely means that, and that was the whole purpose of her deal being the worst deal in history. I mean, it was deliberately a bag of dog shit because all they wanted was for things to carry on exactly the way they are. So she created this absolutely just the worst deal that's worse than our current relationship with the EU. It deliberately. So the House, who are all pro, the vast majority of which are pro-Remain anyway, could vote that down, and then they could orchestrate some sort of scenario whereby we people are so sick to death of the whole situation that they'll drag it out until people are just so tired and sick to death of it all that they'll just keep us in, but they have to retain the illusion. They have to be seen to be trying to retain the illusion of democracy. So they're going to have to go through the processes in order to facilitate.
Let me ask Dave this question then. The biggest problem, it seems to me, Fergie, is that is not actually the government, is not actually the EU, is the media. It's fake stream. It's the fake stream media that is basically tomorrow. Their top story should be PM threatens democracy. That's what she did at the dispatch box, wasn't it? When she said, we cannot leave with no deal. The Prime Minister Cameron's pamphlet that we all paid for expressly set out what leave meant. And, I don't know. It seems to me it's identical to going out on WTO rules. So what's the problem with going with that? The problem is, though, Dave, it seems to me that the media tomorrow will not even talk about that. They don't care because they are in a position where they are conditioning people in the way that people said that people are being conditioned, of these people, of these leaders and what have you, in a not dissimilar way. All of us are being conditioned. The British people is being broadsided by the media, and that's the real worry we have.
I mean, when I first came on this program,
sorry. Go on, Dave.
I'm still getting this feedback for some reason.
I'm sorry. I don't know what I can do about it, to be honest with you. It's just telephony is so
I've got my earphones on. I've turned the speakers down. I can't do anything else. Anyway, I'll try and talk over myself.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
I mean, when I first came on this program a couple of years ago, I remember saying, it ain't gonna happen. And I think I was flamed.
Oh no! I would have agreed with you, definitely. I mean, that's the reason I started doing this show, because I didn't think we were going to get it, and I thought, but it hasn't done much good, has it? Anyway, carry on, Dave.
If you think about the importance of this decision in terms of the New World Order, they cannot allow this.
No,
otherwise, their plan is over.
Yeah, that's right.
And they've been planning this since when? 1930 something.
Ooh, even earlier.
So they can't allow it.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a chance. Now is the time to use your word to create chaos by any means other than violence.
Well, they are actually creating chaos, aren't they? Order ad chaos. I mean, what might be the next thing if it gets more desperate and they sense that the British public is not taking this deceit of democracy? Then I hate to think what they're going to do next. What, they're going to crash the global economy? I think you're absolutely right. The United States and the UK are pivotal in this pursuit of globalism. They call it fascism on a global scale is what it is now.
No, they genuinely. I mean, if you take out compassion and conscience and look at it from a cold-hearted, distilled, logical perspective, we are destroying this planet. Yes, they may have hidden technology that could change things, but they're certainly not going to give it to us, because that would, that would put the power in our hands. They're not going to do that. Their power is what they're all about, and so the only logical solution they have is some form of cull, and what we're witnessing, and I genuinely believe this, but I do believe there are people fighting this philosophy massively at the moment, and I still actually, believe it or not, quite optimistic about the future, despite the fact that we're sort of talking quite sort of apocalyptically right now. I do believe that, I mean, as I've said before, that Trump is a smokescreen, and that the people that that he represents are doing their utmost to try and bring this philosophy down, this desire to sort of create two centralized power zones, Western Europe and North America, and with the full spectrum of genetic human diversity in those two locales under sort of centralized control, and then they intend to homogenize whoever's left, and then allow the rest of the world to revert to nature, and then just sort of control. I know that sounds like a sort of Hunger Games type of philosophy, but if you've built the computer models and you've researched it and you've looked at just how just how detrimental humanity is on the natural world. And if we're given free rein and freedom to do exactly as we please, we are essentially greedy, self-interested creatures. So we are destroying the natural world. We know this. It's not actually unreasonable to assume that all these people are working for this agenda. Some of them know about it, some of them don't. Some of them are sort of have been deluded by ideologies that they buy into, which are actually just a smokescreen, to cover for the fact that what's actually going on is this sort of herding of the general populace into these two zones, so they can homogenize and centralize power and create a sort of unified herd, if you like, of remnant human species, which they can then control, and then they can save the planet and reduce the carbon dioxide emissions and all the rest of it by allowing nature to revert back to itself. This is why they're not interested in solving the problems of pollution around the world, because they know that if their program succeeds in a few years' time, there'll be no need to worry about those things, because we won't, the vast majority of us won't be here. Therefore, nature will very quickly revert back to itself, because we're not there to cause the massive detriment that we have. However, as mad and as crazy and as sort of genocidal as that all sounds, I do believe that philosophy is being fought against, and I do believe that we may be at the crux now where some of this sort of craziness may start to be being exposed. So we are at we're at a lynch, we're at a crazy kind of nexus right now, where
if you look
it could go either way. But I think
I
think humanity will prevail. We always find a way.
Go on, Dave. Well, go on.
I say, if you look at what's happening in Parliament right now,
yeah, we've got.
It was supposed to be troublesome, but it wasn't supposed to be this chaotic. So they're not entirely in control. If other factors come into play, we still have a chance. Other factors, what do I mean by that? Italy goes down.
The plague.
The LFS actually have an effect.
Italy goes, yes, absolutely. And that surely is what's likely to happen, irrespective of Brexit, is we're continuing to see EU implosion, and that will run its course. And I think, is that not the reason, Piers, that you would be a bit optimistic?
Sorry, I was distracted for a minute.
No, that's all right. Look, no. I want to carry on picking Dave's brains a little bit more, but I'll just take a few comments. I'm really grateful for your comments, folks. Pip Epi says the Queen is as responsible as the government for the EU. She broke her coronation oath, signing the 1972 treaty. Excuse me. Maureen Smith should play the loudspeakers with Cameron's speech and Theresa May's speech outside Parliament over and over. Broken promises. You're right, Maureen. Yeah, absolutely. That speech with Cameron, when he's telling us how we had a historic decision that would not be thwarted by politicians. That's what he said. I will try and load that speech up onto this and maybe play it in a minute or what have you. Lynn Scott, we have to make a hell of a... Oh, yeah, hold on a second. Things pop up over there. We do have a constitution, the Bill of Rights, says Pip Epi, and Warren Whiteley, no future if we remain. Amin Armoud is wondering who the caller is, and it's Piers Garnham, who's an old mate of mine, and he's a very esoteric kind of a character, very well read, and very, very interesting bloke, I might say. And we've got Dave Fergie here as well, who is one of us activists online trying to spread some awareness. Karen Ormes says, bet she gave it to Charlie for a present. I don't know what that is. And Amanda Montazzi says it's a tier system. Only the top tier know what the agenda is. Each tier is on a need-to-know basis. That's right. Yup, the pyramid system. And we know it works because it works in every single business that was ever set up. And it can work on a bigger scale as well. Remarkably or not, but not so remarkably when you think about the amount of secrets that takes a long while to sift through to us. It does work. Christopher Michael Baxter at grassroots level, the other side remains studiously ignorant and uninformed just the way May and Robbins want them to be. Parliament Square is even more infested with EU flag-wrapped loons screaming their heads off than it has been over the last several years. We need the Brexiteers to step up to the mark and change things. Dave Fergie, are you going to be marching the march to London? Are you going to be getting into London for the 29th of March?
Well, I'd love to, but I can't actually walk down the street.
Oh, mate. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. You sound like
maybe I could get one of these scooter things.
Oh man. I don't know what it takes now. I don't know what it takes. What it really takes is for, I would have thought, another general election, and that is what we need more than anything now in the UK. So far as Brexit's concerned,
we
it has
won't
to be a
get
general
one,
election.
mate. I can guarantee it. They're not going to throw a general election into the cauldron right now because they know they'd lose power. I mean, I do genuinely believe the mood of the British public has moved to a point where people are going to vote against their tradition. In order to try and, they know now that voting for Tories under Theresa May will get them nowhere. Voting for Corbyn under Labour get them nowhere. Or the Liberal Democrats, all the three main parties. There's no options there at the moment. They're all under deep state control. Therefore, they have to vote UKIP. They have to vote Brexit Party. If they genuinely believe in the process of democracy and to retain the vote of the referendum, then they are going to have to vote for one of those options. But I do think that not enough people, ultimately, yes, there will be a huge swing of votes towards those two parties, and both those parties will gain seats in the House of Commons if there was a general election. However, I do believe we'd end up in a hung parliament scenario, and with the fact that UKIP and the Brexit Party won't work with each other, that could, I mean, if they could, maybe they could, maybe they could find some sort of solution. I don't know, but we're not. This is all hypothetical because we're not going to be given a general election. I guarantee it. We're working against globalists. We're working against Theresa May and the deep state, and they are all about globalization for the reasons I've already mentioned. And as cold-hearted and as sinister as that sounds, this is what these people have been programmed for, and this is their agenda. However. In order to facilitate making sure that Echidna stays online, they're not going to give us options. They're not going to give us the chance to thwart their plans. So therefore, we will not be given a general election option. So the only way this is going to play out now is the Remainers in the House of Commons will vote down the option to keep no deal on the table, and then we will end up in some sort of extension of Article 50. That is literally the only thing that can happen now. If you look at it logically, because we're fighting globalists.
No. The other thing that could happen is that WTO rules are allowed.
It's not going to happen, Ollie. It's not going to happen.
No, I know.
That is exactly.
That is the default position.
Brexit. That is Brexit.
Mate, I know.
That's not. They're not going to allow Brexit to happen.
I agree. I agree.
This is the.
Nonetheless, when Rees-Mogg is wheeled out on Newsnight tonight, he will say that correctly that the default position now is no deal Brexit. But they will scupper that. Dave, Fergie, I mean, they. What's your any more take on this?
Yeah, I was listening to Farage the other night, and I am unclear as to who he's working for.
Yeah.
One of the callers said, "Well, can't you fight a general election with the Brexit Party?" And immediately he backed down.
Immediately he backed down?
He backed down.
What do you mean?
He said, "Oh no, the purpose is the European elections." And I thought, "Hang on, what's your game?"
So
I have a feeling.
So it's just a distraction, the Brexit Party. Then, if they're going to run in the EU but not actually sort out the big storm. The problem we've got, I've got to tell you, Mr. Farage, is not Brexit. It's democracy. Because if we had democracy, we'd have Brexit.
Yeah.
We need to fight in the Commons. We need to change those idiots on those seats and replace them with people that will represent their constituents in accordance, for example, with the referendum campaign. Just repeat 408 out of 650 MPs voted to leave. Once we've sorted out our parliament, everything else is sorted. That's what we need to sort out.
What you're talking about is 408 out of 650 constituents. The majority vote was to leave.
That's right. That's correct.
I mean, the referendum was proportional representation.
That's right.
But
62.8%.
408 out of 650 constituencies.
Yes. Voted to leave.
The majority of people voted to leave. Yeah. So there are vast majority of MPs in the Houses of Parliament do not represent the majority vote within their own constituents. That's basically what that's about. Yeah.
I mean, I live in Cheshire. Red hot Tory seat with that bitch, what's her name, Sandbach, who is a total Remainer. And I don't know whether my straw poll's too small, but everybody I speak to wants to leave. Not 48-52. From my circle of communication,
you're right. I think they've rigged the last referendum.
Go on. Sorry, Dave, carry on.
I said it's more like 90-10. And a lot of those people voted to remain.
But you only hang out with fruitcakes and fascists and right-wingers and,
Oh, not true, actually. Because I'm a musician.
I'm paraphrasing the media. I'm paraphrasing.
Socialists.
Oh, you're a hippie. Sorry, I'm paraphrasing the media.
I used to be.
Stereotyping. So you'd say actually your circle of folks is pretty broad anyway, but then 9 out of 10 of them are saying they want to leave.
Well, an awful lot of them seem to have changed their minds.
In what way?
Favour of leave.
Really? Because they have seen what the EU is, or what? They've become...
Yeah, absolutely. This gang has insulted us. And I think that's getting to them.
Yeah. I completely agree. Gentlemen, we could easily continue this conversation and may well do so for the next several years.
Indeed.
Aye. We've got Robin Horsley popping on tomorrow from the Bruges Group, and that'll be interesting to hear what gossip he's got from the Bruges Group. I think tomorrow he'll be talking to some of them, and so we'll hear what he has to say. Piers, I try to get on Tuesdays as much as I possibly can because he is quite good value. Bless you, mate. And Dave Fergie is awesome, and it's such a pity his line is so dreadful tonight. Dave, can we connect on Skype, please? And maybe if you come on, I don't know, maybe on Monday, something like that, and we can have a proper chinwag.
Yeah, I can't understand. I've got all the kit here, and I'm on Discord.
Do you still sound echoey yourself? Because you sound okay here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what it is. But I'll try and sort that out with you. I'll message you separate and we'll have a chat. I want to take a few comments before we close off. But just a few things just so that, I don't know. Cassie Mac, if they do this, then it's fight for your life because not much of one left. Lynn Scott talking about Farage, I think. He's sold out. Kelly Cole voted no deal. Simon Dawson, I know, Ollie, you've been warned on my post for what you can continue. It's a matter of MI5 and MI6 and national security. Lynn Scott, I think it's time for peaceful direct action. They don't understand how angry we are. We need to show them. Timing, not so hot. This new software, so I've been using it 2 days now, the streaming kind of audio visual mixer thing. And getting used to it. Got nothing to do with Dave Fergie's echo, that's another problem. That's different, so that's Discord.
I get the echo as well when I use Discord.
And I've got Piers and Dave on the same fader as the outro, which is a pain because nothing I can do about that. Tonight. Right, okay, so a little bit of chaos at the end. But anyway, hey, this has been the Daily Brexit. Brino, yeah? Break shot. Oh, bullshit. Daily bullshit. Oh, blimey. See you tomorrow.
Talk soon, Ollie.
Hey, yes. God bless you, Dave. Yes. Oh, let's message each other now and sort out your telephony on Skype and do this properly. Because he does talk a lot of sense, bless him. And yeah, okay, Robin Horsley tomorrow from the Bruce Group. Thanks for turning up.
Cheers.
I'm sorry it's so annoying and frustrating. Don't shoot the messenger. And big cheers, Piers. God bless you, mate. Thank you.